Representative Matt Ramsey, who's doing a great job.
Thank you all. Ronnie did a great job of updating you on what's going on in the Senate and the General Assembly, and I'll go ahead and start where he kind of finished with district voting. It's been kind of eye-opening up there to see how the process works in the local legislative process. As you know, I represent more people in Fayette County than Daryl Jordan, Roberta Abdul-Salam, and Virgil Flood combined. But the way the process works, my vote counts the same as Daryl Jordan. I represent 9 times as many people, and my vote counts the same. And we have Roy Barnes to thank for that. The way the district lines were drawn, we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that going forward. So Fayette County is truly represented. Our delegation is representative of Fayette County, which it's not right now. I also, before I go into the House, before I give you a little update on what's going on in the House, I'm sure you've been reading a lot about our speaker in the newspaper, who's been certainly getting a lot of press. I want to talk a little bit about politics and what you guys are doing. This kind of first step in the process of organizing, going toward November. And I don't know if y'all have pulled the numbers. I had somebody pull the numbers for me of the voting breakdown in the presidential primary we had last week. There was 60% of the voters were Republicans and 40% were Democrats. That is staggering. We're used to 80 to 85% Republicans coming out and voting. We can't just roll out of bed and expect this to be a Republican county anymore. And you guys are kind of the main cogs in the wheel as we start getting ready for November. And I really appreciate y'all being here. We're going to have to really start working and get ready for November and get the folks out, because the numbers are changing, and we're going to have to be the people that lead and get the folks out there to make sure Fayette County stays Republican as it should be. So I'm going to segue and talk a little bit about what's going on in the House, and then let you guys get back to your business. We all can drive around and look at our lakes and our reservoirs and realize that the first issue we needed to take up this General Assembly session, which we did, is water. We passed the first comprehensive statewide water plan that has ever been in place in Georgia the first week of the session. Georgia is one of the last states that did not have one. I think the situation we're in shows that it was long overdue. But that's not going to fix things overnight. It's basically a plan to plan. We have legislation coming through. The governor has announced an unprecedented commitment to reservoir construction. The speaker and lieutenant governor have also agreed that we need to put some resources into reservoir construction, state reservoirs. I think a big part of the problem we're in is Lake Lanier is managed by the federal government. The state of Georgia does not manage Lake Lanier. And frankly, I think it's been mismanaged. When you start talking about sending water downstream for the mussels, I think that shows how apparent the problem is. So we're going to build some state reservoirs. Hopefully we'll be able to manage them properly. And you'll start seeing ground being broken in the next year to come. Ronnie mentioned the Great Plan. We've all heard a lot about it. It is certainly a moving target. Yesterday, Speaker Richardson finally presented before a subcommittee, the Tax Reform Subcommittee, his latest iteration of the Great Plan. As I understand it, he had some hard questions. Nothing moved out of the subcommittee. It's hard for me to even talk about the specifics of it, because again, the specifics keep changing. But fundamentally, I have a real problem with the concept. When we start talking about taking resources out of Fayette County and funneling them through the state with no promise of return, I just have a real problem with that. We need decisions. The decisions about our schools, and now he's taken the county commission and the cities out of the equation. He's basically now going after the school portion of the sales of the property tax. Those decisions need to be made in Fayette County about our students by people from Fayette County, not a bureaucrat in Atlanta, in my opinion. You're also going to be hearing a lot in the next couple of weeks about transportation. I think we can all drive around Metro Atlanta and see that our infrastructure needs are great. There's been a proposal introduced in the Senate and a proposal introduced in the House on how to deal with keeping up with our infrastructure needs. We have a real funding shortfall. And there's a disagreement of opinion on how to deal with that shortfall, but there is unanimity in that we need to address it. The debate's going to be going on for the next week or two. Ultimately, whatever we arrive at, it's going to result ultimately in a constitutional amendment that you all are going to be able to vote on to decide how we're going to fund transportation in the state from a tax standpoint. I'm also on the Judiciary Committee. We've passed a couple of pretty good community protection measures you may have kept up with in the local newspaper. Georgia, back in November, 2 years ago, we passed a residency restriction requirement on sex offenders, saying sex offenders cannot live within 1,000 feet of our schools, our libraries. The Supreme Court struck it down on a technicality. We have put that back in place. You may have read an article in the local paper that says Matt Ramsey's committee ignored some people that testified before. Let me tell you who we ignored. We ignored the ACLU, and we ignored a couple of other individuals from organizations like the ACLU that said we don't need to destabilize sex offenders. In other words, we need to coddle sex offenders. Frankly, I don't think we need to be coddling sex offenders. We need to be dealing with them in as aggressive a manner as possible to keep them away from our children. We also passed, and I'll end on this note, just 2 days ago, I was surprised to learn there's only 3 states in the country that don't have a felony DUI, and Georgia is one of them. California has one, New York has one, Massachusetts has one, Georgia does not. Just this week, out of my committee, on a 6-5 vote, we passed a bill that says the 4th DUI you get is a felony. It was supported by Matt, it was supported by our judges, it was supported by prosecutors and solicitors, and I think we're finally going to send a message that if you get out on the road and drive drunk and endanger all of us, you're going to pay for it in Georgia. So again, thank you so much for sending me down there to the General Assembly to represent you. It's been an interesting experience. It's been exciting. We're dealing with some very important issues, and I appreciate all of you and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.